Hello, my name is Laura Sneed, and I am a candidate in the EDLD Principal Certification Program at Lamar University. My mentor is Dr. Shannon Gibson, the principal at my campus. For the leading video, I have chosen option 3, found on page 42 of the practicum log. This option involves leading a meeting with ELA teachers, ESL foreign language teachers, history teachers, and community members to develop and implement a project addressing a cultural diversity or social issue on my campus. I chose this option because I believe that as educators, it is our responsibility to educate our students on more than just the academic curriculum. I chose to hold this meeting about a social issue of teen pregnancy and teen parenting. We currently have 6 pregnant students on our campus, which means we now have 12 students who are dealing with life-changing circumstances that can negatively affect their academic goals, such as maintaining their grades and eventually graduating. It is my hope that by completing this activity, we can make a positive impact in the lives of our students by arming them with knowledge that will help them to make appropriate decisions. To prepare for this meeting, I met with Dr. Gibson and asked him for assistance in choosing members for the project, scheduling the meeting, and discussing what types of activities would and would not be appropriate to do on campus. Seeing that we are discussing teen pregnancy and parenting, we get into the realm of sexual education, which is a topic that a lot of people are very uncomfortable with, and I understand that many parents will have strong opinions on this situation, and I want to make sure that as we go through our meeting, we are not going into any areas that would not be allowed in the school. I suggested asking a representative of each content area to participate in the activity in order to have a good representation of our campus. Dr. Gibson agreed that this would work well for this specific activity. He recommended that I speak with the content area leaders, such as the department heads, explain the activity and the purpose of the activity, and ask them to communicate it to their content area teachers. Each content area leader will then ask for a member volunteer to represent that content area. I feel this method of selecting activity members will be very effective because it will allow me to not only gain insight from the individuals participating in the activity, but it will also allow me to gain insight from the entire faculty, as each of these individuals will be representative of their content area. After realizing the implication of my mentor's suggestion, I became very excited about the opportunity we have to make a difference in the lives of our students by providing them with information that they will be able to use to better protect themselves. We briefly discussed the best time to hold the meeting, and Dr. Gibson suggested that we utilize the time during the professional development sessions that we have on Tuesday afternoons. Seeing that our students are dismissed on those days early, we have additional time that the teachers are required to be at the school, so this meeting will not take any of their personal time. We will hold a meeting on a Tuesday, preferably between 3 and 3:30. Regarding the agenda and topics of discussion for the meeting, I provided each of the content area leaders with the information that their representatives will need to come prepared with and how the meeting will take place. I felt that this was a best practice so that all representatives will know exactly what to expect and whether or not this is an activity that they would like to be involved in. This includes statistics, round-robin suggestions, a round table discussion, and identifying next steps. I also asked Dr. Gibson if there was anything in particular that he thought we should address in this activity. He then provided me with specific guidelines of what we are and are not allowed to talk about in the classroom regarding this topic. In the next few days, I will finalize the participating members of the activity, schedule the meeting on a Tuesday after school, and finalize the agenda for the meeting. I look forward to completing this activity and making a positive impact on the lives of our students.
All right, first of all, I just want to thank all of you for agreeing to take part in this meeting and for offering your advice and suggestions. We are today going to be talking about teen pregnancy and parenting. And I just want to do a quick introduction of everyone who is here. We have Ms. Bennett, who teaches high school science, Mr. Waters, who teaches high school social studies, Ms. Townsend, English, Ms. Donovan, English, Ms. Dantzler, physical education, and Mr. Sneed, who is an administrator. And so I wanted to begin just with some statistics and some figures that I found to kind of get y'all's ideas if you think that this is indicative of our population in our school and what you see in our area. So it says 4 in 10 girls become pregnant by the age of 20. There's more than 900,000 teen pregnancies annually. 40% of pregnant teens are 17 years or younger. 8 in 10 pregnancies are not planned. 79% of the pregnant teens are not married. And some teens are even having sex earlier than in the past. And also it said that Hispanics now have the highest teen birth rate. And so I kind of wanted to get some ideas if y'all think that that is evident where we are and in our school.
Yes. I agree with a lot of these statistics.
Okay. Does anybody know exactly how many girls that we have who are pregnant right now?
I know that in one English class, there are 3 girls in that one class.
In one class?
3?
Yes.
I think we have about 6 girls that are pregnant that I know of that are physically pregnant at the high school year. But like you said, I think our school, this is our population. Because like what you just said, a lot of these girls, it just comes from lack of education. I mean, when you have lack of education, you make tons of mistakes. And then being pregnant is just one of them.
And I also, when I was doing some research, saw they said there's a correlation in poverty in teen pregnancy as well. And so I'm not sure. I mean, I'm thinking it's like you said, just a lack of exposure and a lack of education. Because I know even I've been asked questions, like some just crazy off-the-wall questions to the kids. You would think that they would know, just like, can you get pregnant if someone comes in a hot tub? And just like crazy things like that you would think like, no. But they honestly don't know because they've never experienced or been exposed to those kinds of
Well,
things.
haven't they changed when they do sex ed classes now? Because I know at one point it was a middle school level course that they were introduced to it, girls in one room, boys in the other, and all that stuff. But now it's now at the high school level, right? Isn't that part of the health curriculum?
When I was at the middle school 2 years ago, I don't know of anything that we did over there.
Yeah.
But I know for me, when I was in school, it started in 3rd grade and didn't start until 7th. I mean, it was every year from 3rd through 7th grade. So.
But when you say teens are having sex earlier, from what I hear over the middle school, they have a lot of girls that they know are. Yes. So that might be an area.
And I also found some information about why we should, aside from the fact that we care about our students, 4 in 10 teen mothers graduate. And so I think that is us as educators, that's kind of devastating to hear, I suppose, that a lot of times whenever teen girls do get pregnant, they no longer work towards their high school diploma. Half of teen mothers drop out of school before becoming pregnant. 52% of all mothers on welfare had children as teens. And teen pregnancy costs taxpayers $7 million a year. And teen mothers have babies with high rates of defects. And now, I'm not so much concerned about the taxpayer situation, like the money aspect of it, more so just about the kids, like caring about them and how that sets them up for the future and everything. So, how do y'all feel about this information?
That's $7 million a year in Pittsburgh?
No, I think this is national. Yeah, national.
I know
Out of
for,
curiosity, what's the graduation rate for Orangeburg County?
That I'm not sure. I know for our school, it was 70, was it 79% last year?
I was gonna say 80, so
80%. Now, as far as specifically for the teen pregnancies, I think, how many girls did we have that had babies last year?
We had a good number of them, but most of the seniors that did have babies didn't want to graduate because of homebound.
Right.
and I was getting ready to say that earlier, like, I know at Edison High School, we have placed things to where students can still get their credits. Like you mentioned, homebound,
Or even
like
the Edgenuity online.
like Edgenuity. So it's really inexcusable. And they have people that help these girls to complete their high school diploma. So I don't think our dropout rate for teen pregnancies are that bad.
Right.
Not 40%.
Right.
But that 7 million,
Yeah.
part of that homebound is coming,
Right.
going in there because that's federal money that pays for a teacher to go do that. And we have, because they met today, there's that teen mom / whatever group, I don't know the official title of it, but they meet once a month or whatever.
Yeah, it's called the Family Solutions of the Lower County. And like you said, they meet once a month, and they met today. And they talked about contraception and how to follow through with birth control. And they also talked about how it targets young women to not have a second baby or not get pregnant. But I'm
So the
still
people in
trying
that program are already
to, right, they're
pregnant.
already pregnant. I think the other day she said that they went to Edisville Fork Baptist Church and they had a luncheon, and they were able to, I guess, disseminate different information to the church, which I think we definitely need to do a better job than that. And they also pay like home visits, doctor visits. I mean, they really communicate with these girls that are pregnant or that already have children. And I know for me, when I was in high school, I don't remember all that stuff that was put in place for teen mothers and fathers.
Are the boys in the meetings too?
No, and I was doing some research myself, and we always talk about being a teen mom, but we like dismiss the guy. And I mean, we don't really do anything for the guys when it comes to preparing them for fatherhood. Because I was a teen dad in high school, and there wasn't much offered for me. It was more so geared towards the female. But we don't do anything for the young men that are future teen fathers.
There was a conversation in my classroom that I, as an educator, had to kind of keep a straight face, but it was very alarming. And this particular class, I have 2 ladies in it that are with child. And, the kids were kind of shooting the breeze, and the red flags weren't going off in their head. But I have a child who's pregnant and really doesn't understand the mechanics by which she got pregnant. Just by listening to them talk to each other, she is unaware of normal bodily processes and where certain things go and where certain things may come out of. But yet she's pregnant. So to answer the question, I think that a lot of that happens because they don't know. And it was hard keeping that conversation on a mature, even keel level without all the giggles, all of that stuff, because it was just this flush red. If we're not used to it, we're gonna laugh about it, and that was the coping mechanism. However, but I remember when I was in school, I had a young lady who got pregnant in the 8th grade, and it was like she was a pariah. You didn't talk to her, you didn't, the what? Oh no, she actually went to another school after that because, and it's just, so I think now Edison Fort does a good job because they had a youth summit a couple of Saturdays ago, but when I look back to what what's changed, and I'm not that old. When I look back from what's changed from me to now, and I grew up in a similar community after my dad retired from military. We country folk, agricultural based. The biggest thing that's different is we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it in church anymore. I remember getting sex ed in 7th grade. These kids, even though they have more, they don't have the opportunity to understand what's going on with them. Most of them are not aware of what's going on. Most of them don't even know how to calculate administration days. But that's one of the things that we learned first.
Right.
And I remember a lady in the church teaching us how to calculate our administration days. Administration obligation. So until I don't see that changing until knowledge is power. So.
And I'm wondering how much of it has to come from shows like Teen Mom, like that kind of glorify the teen parenting situation. Because like you said, when we were in school, there was one girl that got pregnant when I was in high school, and she was so ashamed. I mean, she didn't come to school or anything. She stopped because it was taboo. I guess it's more common now, and I don't know if it is because of things like that, like the culture has changed even. But I completely agree with you. I think it's education, and so that's why I wanted us to meet to talk about stuff like that. What kinds of things we think that we can put in place, because like you said, that program is for teens who are already pregnant, mothers who are already pregnant. What can we do beforehand, outside of even the health classes, like what they do in health? Because do all students have to take health?
No.
Well, at a certain age, right? 9th grade?
Is that a required class for
Everybody's not in
graduation?
personal health.
Do we still have sex ed classes?
No.
It's incorporated in that health class. Because I remember Ms. Grimes a couple years ago was writing the curriculum for it from her having a science background, and she was incorporating it there. But I thought at one time it was mandatory for all 9th grade. But maybe it's not. They just were trying to get them all in there.
Right.
And I'm like you, Ms. Bennett, I don't think it ever stops. I think we need to teach them about contraceptives, because kids are gonna have sex.
Well, this is a question that I want to have. I know we as educators, there are certain things that are considered taboo for us to say. But everywhere that I had been prior to getting here, one of the differences that I see, and we had one in little old Lake Marion. It was a full-time position in my other schools, but it was a part-time position at Lake Marion, where we had a community outreach coordinator who would come in for a half a day, and this is what she did. Every Friday, we had Friday Night Live, and it would switch from different churches or different venues, and it had a guest speaker. We had Cinnamon Moran, we had Vondella Smith. These are people that the kids identify with because they do hair in the community, they do all this stuff in the community, and this is what they talked about. This is what they did. And that's how we could say what we couldn't say as educators. And churches would line up to host it, and different places would line up to host it. We had Kurt Thomas, the author, lives in Orangeburg, just several people that the kids recognized and identified with out of the community. So it was somebody that they're like, oh, okay, I know this person. This just isn't somebody that's just talking to me. Right. Theodore Reed, that did GCP, that's now closed, but we had him a couple of times to come. Is there an avenue for that here?
In this location, right? And you think it was effective for the kids?
Well, I can get you their numbers. It was, and the kids wanted to come, and it gave them an alternative to just hang out all, Friday. So it actually got a little too big because we couldn't beat them all. So it's just giving them options and stuff to do. Because I've just been here a little bit of time, and I see they hang out for 2 hours in the parking lot at the school.
And I know, like, the principal, I know at the administrative team, we're looking for ideas like that, that teachers or community people are ready to implement. So I think that can happen, and it probably should happen, because, there's no out like you said, being a teacher or whatever, you can't really talk. You can't. It's taboo to say certain things. And I mean, I know when I taught math, I taught more than just math. It was a lot of life skills that was taught.
Right.
And
But how do you justify like talking about things like that in a math classroom?
Right.
well, for boys, it was easy. I mean, we taught.
Right.
You know, but for me, trying to talk to another teacher or a student, I would never do that. I mean, I would listen to Miss Dansler or Miss Townsend, but I wouldn't get into those kinds of conversations.
Yeah, like even though I'm a science teacher, I can't pull the banana that's on my desk every day off and show them how to use the car.
Right.
But is that something that they need? I mean, is
Yeah.
that something like that should be?
I had a
should be able
one
to
of my
do?
pregnant students didn't know where to buy condoms from.
And
Hence why she's pregnant.
and some boys don't know how to put on a condom. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, and that leads to condom bursting or falling off. So I mean, it's an art to do things like that, and we have to teach it. I mean, if not, those numbers are going to continue to increase throughout the world, really.
I mean, I also I think a lot of times they think it's not going to happen. Because I had, when I taught in North Carolina, I had a student the very first time that she had sex, she got pregnant. And so, or so she says, and I believe her. I genuinely believe her. And so I think, does it have to do again with the culture of that invincibility that like this will never happen to me? Everybody is having sex, everybody's doing it, and then just a couple of them get caught. I mean,
Definitely. I overheard a parent here last year at a football game saying his son, first time his son had sex, got his girlfriend pregnant. So it goes either way. There's both sides there. And I heard this butler say that they did Friday Night Live, and then down in Lake Marion, but I don't know if there's any safe spaces around here where the kids are going for real talk and for real vernacular, any of the slang terms, sometimes we even try in a classroom, maybe we get pretty clinical and we lose the kids or we talk over the kids' head there. And then bring in SMS communications, texting and emojis and whatever their slang is, how they're communicating about sex. And so we need to know how they're talking about sex.
Right.
And then we can kind of come in and correct some things with them.
I think parents are kind of our worst enemies on this topic, though.
and I think I
Because either they don't care,
or they don't want you to teach them.
right, or they care too much, and they're naive that their child could. I mean, getting a child on birth control today is easy. I mean, it's free. You don't have to have insurance. You can just go to a health clinic and get. There's no excuse, but you have a lot of parents. My aunt was one of them this summer. My cousin came to me and she said, "I'm having sex and I think I'm pregnant." And mom's gonna freak out. And I said, "Yeah." But I had to go to my aunt and say, you need to open your eyes here. Right? Fortunately, she was not pregnant, but getting her to agree for her to go on birth control after she knew she was having sex and she might be pregnant was still a really big issue. And I couldn't figure it out. I mean, my thing is if she's coming and wanting to get on it, but a lot of people don't look at it that way. They look at it as they're encouraging sex if you let them get on birth control.
Yeah, I think the conversation first starts with the SIC committee that they're trying to get people to join. Because those are the people that, okay, if I see this so-and-so, then I automatically buy in. And one thing I've noticed about Edison, I love y'all, but y'all real cliquish. So that's going to be the first line of defense. Because I've noticed that certain last names in this community carry a lot of weight. So if you can get those names to buy in, the rest are coming.
Right. You mean in terms of like community events and things like that?
And I think a lot of times, like she said, the parents are on us to educate them, but the kids are educating each other.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest problems.
Wrong.
Kids, they're giving the wrong
They're
information.
educating each other wrong.
They are.
They're wrong.
Right.
So we need to do a better job at finding a way to re-educate what has the miseducation of sex in high school.
Suggestions for that? I mean, do we do, like, I mean, does it need to be visible? Like, you know how we have all the posters around about, oh, Jostens is coming with the senior stuff, and, oh, join the National Guard for this and that. Is that something we could do, like, I don't even know if you could put posters out about sex education all over the school. But it has to be visible. I mean, if they're not, I mean, how often do kids feel
You
comfortable?
have to market it with something that the kids want.
Right.
So what can we give these kids? That's why I said it has to be a roundtable discussion between the district, between your stakeholders in the community, and your SIC and the teachers. Because what resources can we pull together to barter with these kids to draw them in? For instance, what can we give them for 3 visits? It's going to start out as a bartering agreement.
Right. Right. Because they won't see the value in just the education alone. Right.
Now, I must admit, at first, it was a labor, but towards the 3rd and 4th visit, you don't even, it feels effortless. And by the time we got to the lock-in, because we would have lock-in songs where all of us would bring sleeping bags and just sleep in the gym and watch movies and whatever else. You know, but it took a minute, and you had to barter with them.
So what did y'all do?
I mean, like, we would go to McDonald's was like our ally. McDonald's would give them stuff. Different restaurants would give them things. We had T-shirts made. People would just give us stuff to give them all the time. They had perfect attendance. We took them on field trips if they came for like a month. And it's not even that we had to pay for field trips. Most of the time, they just never had anybody willing to take them
Right.
anywhere. And so, you know, they would bring their money for the movies and we would just do insane deals.
So how did you, now when y'all had the lock-in in the gymnasium, it was boys and girls. So how did y'all monitor?
Somebody had to stay up while the other one slept.
Okay. I like that idea. I like how you
But
said
honey,
you
next day I had to take a nap. All day down. I'm not still up down no more.
you know.
But it's different. I mean, I think that's something that's exciting. Like, I mean, as much as they don't want to be at school to like sleep in the gym, as little as that sounds, like it's different.
They were loving it. I was like, we went got to get bags of popcorn from Fromers, and I'm like, these kids really did this. These roaches, and they still.
But I think you're right on something with getting certain names, certain adult names to carry it. On that same token, there are certain leaders in these halls. If you get them to buy into it, you're gonna get their followers to come with them, and you gotta target them just like you do the adults.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that from coaching football. You know the leaders of the football team. You know who you could get set an example, and the rest are gonna follow. So when you get those certain adults and certain kids come together, and they're gonna help pull the program.
So you think it's more than just an in-school thing? It needs to be an out-of-school thing.
Yeah,
It has to be out of school.
Gotta be out of school. Okay. School sponsored, but out of school.
Like if you come to 3 team talks, then you get to go the 4th week on our outing, which may be in Charleston or Columbia or whatever. You know, the getaway, they'll do it.
Yeah, right.
I wonder what is this school's responsibility? The young people in this community about sex, they need real talk. And is that here in the school? What are the guidelines to what can we say? What can we put on the halls out here? I mean, it's for the betterment of the community that our young population is educated on sex and all wonders and mysteries. But who else is doing it? Like, are we just an academic, storehouse here giving academic knowledge, or?
No, you can't be, because you have to take the holistic approach to education. No child is listening unless if they're hungry. No child is listening. I hate to be crass, but if they have irritating sexual transmitted diseases. Nobody cares what I'm saying about balancing the chemical equation. You know, I mean, so that's why when somebody asks me to go to the nurse, I let them go because I don't know. They ain't hearing what I'm saying if certain things going on,
And I think
and I dare not ask.
I think our mission says, or our vision, one of the two, those are always confusing to me, but one of them states that our role here is to have productive citizens that are able to lead these laws and be successful. And it doesn't just say academic.
In the books, right?
So with that being said, I mean, they're gonna be taking care of us one day, you know? They're gonna be the future of this country. And they need to know everything,
Sooner the better.
yeah, to be put out there.
I mean, like Ms. Bennett said, the churches are not talking about it. I mean, I know our church does, somewhat, but that is very
Well, I think
rare.
churches have the thought
The
that if they're
stigma.
talking about it,
Right.
they're
They
They're
make it
voting.
okay.
Right.
or, yeah,
Right.
And what leeway would I have in my classroom to talk as bluntly? So I would go, whatever, nothing is beyond pale for me. I'll talk to anyone that needs that information. But, you know, I can't jeopardize my career or anything like that. But if I knew that if I was safe, then here it is, 100% honest question, my opinion mixed with, let's look it up on the internet.
I'm pretty sure legally we can. I think science teachers are the only ones that have a little bit more leeway than we do, other than the health classes. Because I remember when Ms. Brown was here and all this was going on, I remember her saying there are certain things you can't talk about because they were trying to figure out how to incorporate this whole. There's some component of the State Department that requires sex education. And they were trying to figure out how to fit into our school curriculum, what courses, and then that's how I wound up going into the health courses.
Right.
And she was saying that regular core classes you can't do it. So.
What if you're in a social studies class and you're talking about other cultures? That thing comes up.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend who would do it in social studies when they talk about the bubonic plague and all that stuff in the Canterbury Tales, and she brought up the wife of Bath, and we all know the wife of Bath was a harlot and had all of this stuff going on. And you know, she would tell me to come in our classroom and talk about the difference, and I snuck it in when we talked about viruses. You know, the different being a lysogenic and a lytic. You know, lysogenic is when you have HIV and herpes, it can lie dormant. But then, you know, your lytic cycle diseases, they jump out at you right then, you start itching within 2 and 3 days. And it just, you know, you can kind of sneak it in.
I mean, you don't even necessarily have to sneak it. I mean, you're talking about,
If it's in the
population growth going on in Bangladesh or,
Yeah.
you know, or, I mean, that's the subject.
But I think in those cases it's safe. I think where it's not safe is when you get on their level, like you were talking about. You got to speak in their terms. Like that's when it's not okay for us.
And I mean, I think one of the biggest concerns too is I have one student in mind who I know for a fact will go home and say something to her parent because this happened in middle school. And her dad was very adamant about no one at the school instructing his child about any sort of sexual education whatsoever. And so I think that's where a lot of the red tape comes in also. Because you've got, do we teach abstinence? Do we teach protection? Do we, you know, and so
And how can we reach
parental involvement.
those children that have the parents that are resistant? But that's ridiculous because no parent's going to be with their kid 100% of the time. Sure. I bring it up. I've got a 1-year-old baby, and I show pictures on the screen a bunch, and I emphasize. I say over. I think I'm in CYA, but I say we planned. We were married for 4 years. We planned to have a baby. We waited 4 years, and then it was right, the right time. We had a baby. We planned to not have any more kids until we were ready again.
Well, I tell my students all the time, and Mrs. Need to tell you, because they laugh at me because my door is open all the time. And I'm just like, look, I was hard and grown and had a husband when I had my baby, and it was still a struggle. You know, I'm an old mama, as many people, say, like, why you wait so late to have your baby? for my child, and I didn't even take her when she was an infant, was $150 a week. I can't imagine what it is now because she's a preteen. So 150 times 4.
But with all the things that they have, I don't think it's very hard for them. With all the services they can get post baby. I mean, I remember when I was teaching here, my first or second year, I had a student that had a child, and there was a bus that came here and picked the baby up to go to daycare in this community. So I mean, it wasn't difficult for her.
So are we crippling kids?
So we want to help them. Because we don't want them to drop out. That's our ultimate goal. We want them to be productive citizens, but then it needs to be a little hard for there to be consequences. I mean that, how do you balance that where they have responsibility, but yet they're still successful?
Right. That's a good question. That's a good question.
I mean, because let's be realistic. They're probably not paid to have these babies.
Right.
We are. I mean, really. I mean, once you pay to have, I've never had one, but for all my family members that have, from what I understand, it's no cheap task.
They sent me the bill. They accidentally sent me a bill before they did my insurance. $86,900 and some change to have a baby. That's why I won't.
But if you haven't seen that, if they've never seen these things,
Right.
then the reality of having this baby, plus, then there's WIC, right after a baby, there's Medicaid, the welfare, all the,
ABC daycare vouchers.
yeah, I mean, I don't,
And that's why it's like a generational fade,
yeah,
because they cripple them early
yeah.
as a teen, and they just go. I mean, it's better. I have some friends that won't even get married because they'll stop getting assistance. Because they continue having children and sell food stamps.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so we're really crippling them by providing all those services at a young age.
I mean, I think they need assistance so that they are successful, but there's got to be a better balance of it.
And there needs to be an age where it stops.
Or like a repayment, like you can get assistance,
But you got to work in the community, like in a public venue.
Service.
Yeah.
right?
I mean, just like, let's be honest, all of us in here are either in graduate school or have done it. And if we want our loans forgiven, we got to work for 10 years. Well, we got to pay for them 10 years consecutive all the time, and then they'll talk about,
17.5.
you know what I mean? Then they'll talk about forgiving the rest, which at that point, how much are they really forgiving?
Right.
So why couldn't we do that with something like this? Why can't the government say, we'll give you this assistance, it's like a loan, but you will have interest and you got to work it off.
So, is there a way that this can start off as a roundtable discussion amongst stakeholders?
I think it has.
Once we agree on a visual in terms, because all parties have to agree on the visual, because if it offends somebody, it's not going to work. So once we agree on the visual, and you can successfully look at your data at start and then at end, and then you can move into phase 2, which is including government agencies and maybe a barter. Okay, well, to pick your child up from the school, you have to participate in this outreach program that's going on at Edisto. Or we ain't coming to pick your baby.
And so I think even you can include targeting before it comes to, we have to pick it up. And, I mean, all of this would include sexually active boys as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, we gotta somehow include these boys.
Because it's almost like we put everything on the girls.
Yes.
When girls get pregnant, it's like, oh, now you're shunned, you're not gonna graduate, you know what I mean?
As if they did it.
Right,
Right.
with almost no responsibility on the other party, other than,
But I think Steve, you're right. They need just as much education, and I really never thought about it that way. So you said that. I mean, it takes two to tango. It sure does. Both need to know the dance steps.
So I agree with you, but I definitely think it starts with a roundtable discussion, and I think that is something moving forward that we need to put in place.
Because if you actually show everybody respect and have that discussion, they might find some funds from you from somewhere,
Right.
and you're able to pull it together. And like I said, you don't want to offend anybody around here. So, what about everybody?
Well, and you're right, invite them, if they show up, that's their decision, and if they
But
don't,
at least you can
That's
say,
right.
I
Invite-
extended the invitation.
I asked for you to come give your input.
Right.
You didn't come.
And I think even when you just present the data, or just, I mean, what we talked about, I mean, the priority is there. It's definitely a need. So, I think we've definitely determined a good starting point, where to build from. So, I appreciate y'all so much for coming, and thank you for your suggestions in the conversation.
The experience with the teen pregnancy and parenting activity was very enlightening. I was able to gain information regarding how the individuals who participated in the meeting felt about our current situation and how we should approach the task of educating our students about teen pregnancy and parenting. There were a variety of suggestions about how we should handle this campaign. Each teacher had their own idea of what this effort should entail. From sexual education to informational posters, there were many different ideas that were presented in the meeting. There were also many commonalities, as they all felt that we definitely needed to address this issue and make our students aware of ways they can educate themselves and prevent teen pregnancy and teen parenting. There were some key features that were revealed in the focus group. First, we discussed the fact that sexual education is lacking in our area, and it is very necessary in the high school setting. Everyone in the group agreed that most of the time, students find themselves in the teen pregnancy situation because of a lack of knowledge. Secondly, we all came to the consensus that there are very few resources available for teen fathers. This is unacceptable, as there are two parties that are involved anytime there is a teen pregnancy that occurs. We were able to name a few resources that we currently have in place for girls who are pregnant, but we were not able to identify any educational opportunities we have that would prevent pregnancy and any resources that we had for young boys. Lastly, we all agreed that there needs to be a meeting of all stakeholders before we are able to appropriately implement any program, because this issue has to be made personal for all parties involved in order for it to be effective. We also had some great insight brought to us by Ms. Bennett, who has participated in an effort like this at her previous school. She was able to give us many different suggestions on how to actually get the kids interested and excited about taking part in this kind of a campaign. After the meeting ended, I asked the participants to complete a survey following the questions provided in the video guidelines. They were all very positive, and the feedback results indicated that the faculty who participated in the meeting felt that we followed the agenda very well, we met the objectives that were set at the beginning of the meeting, the time was used effectively and efficiently, the meeting was facilitated in such a way that they were able to collaborate and communicate with each other effectively, and they felt that their opinions and their input mattered. I was very pleased with this feedback and felt that I performed my job well as the leader of the meeting, both in the planning stages and in the actual implementation of the meeting. I shared my findings with my mentor, and he seemed very interested in the conversations that we held. He agreed that we do not currently offer enough resources for our students prior to them becoming teen parents. He indicated that we made great progress and agreed that we needed to hold a meeting between all stakeholders before we can proceed, because there are so many different opinions in the way to approach sexual education. He did clarify for us the fact that we are not really able to build sexual education into the regular curriculum in any class other than health. I feel that the information that we discussed in this meeting is very applicable and necessary for our campus. In regards to my experience as the leader of this meeting, I found it to be very insightful. I was very proud of my team members as they were able to successfully come together to have genuine conversation about an area where we needed to improve on our campus. We were able to remain on task and work together to produce some very beneficial information that we can use moving forward in our campaign. I still need to work on making the transition from teacher to administrator, and I see that it is going to take some practice, moving from wanting to participate and communicate with my peers from the perspective of a teacher into the role of campus administrator. This experience was invaluable as I gained a great deal of knowledge about how our teachers feel about teen pregnancy and parenting, and the importance of educating our students. I was also able to gain practical experience of leading a group of teachers through a productive meeting. I learned what it takes to prepare for and maintain focus throughout a meeting from the administrative perspective. What went well? I felt that the teachers, the preparation and actual execution of the meeting went very well. They were very open and willing to participate in the conversation and really showed a passion for wanting to ensure that the students are educated on teen pregnancy. It's as if they all take it very personally and want to do the best for our students and are aware that we are failing them in this area. What would you change? If I were to complete this activity again, I would like to have included more members in the meeting. I would also have liked for us to have worked together during this time to create some sort of document or takeaway that could be used as the next steps for our campaign. What surprising information was revealed through this experience? There were a few things that particularly surprised me through this experience. One was the lack of information and resources we currently offer to our students in regards to sexual education. And two was the focus and work it takes to really make the transition from teacher perspective to administrative perspective. How will this experience transform your practice as a school administrator? This experience will transform my practice as a school administrator by allowing me the opportunity to understand how important it is to utilize planning time effectively. I can now say that I have efficiently put together a team of people to collaborate in order to meet an objective that positively impacts our school.